Dashboard Effect Podcast. I'm Rick Thompson.
I'm Caleb Oakes.
So, Caleb, today we wanted to talk about something that comes up a lot in data projects, especially when we get asked to come in and help a company that's doing buy and build as part of their strategy. So they're acquiring companies, but also just companies that are in a position where they're changing their ERP system. And it often leads to the company wanting to delay getting their data world in order until they have their ERP world in order. And we actually think there's really compelling reasons not to delay. Actually, you might even see this as a point where, now we really have to get it in order.
Yeah. One of our big clients, older big clients, they knew that they were going to go to a new ERP in a year or two. So maybe they weren't right in the middle of it, but they wanted us to do the data work up front and get some reporting out. We did off of their old systems, and then when their new system started to come online, it was actually super beneficial to have all that data readily accessible, have some reporting on it already, and then pulling in the new ERP stuff was quite simple, and we were able to kind of retrofit old reports and then start building on new stuff and new capability from the new ERP. So it worked out really well.
Right. So you've got your old ERP system. If you're loading that data into your lakehouse, you're doing reports on it. When your new one comes in, you can fit the new data into the reporting data model and have reporting on day one. Mm-hmm. Almost guaranteed you're going to want to expand and change those reports because of new capabilities of your new ERP system. So really good point. I think another thing that we see is when you're doing an ERP migration, at least my experience watching it for 20 years, is they almost never go on time.
Yeah. Right.
So the idea that, hey, we're doing this, it'll be done in 5 months, so we'll just wait till that's done. I mean, it almost always turns into 10 or 12.
Yeah.
And so this period where you were going to do without good data and good reporting, which was going to only be 5 months, is now a really long time. And that impacts your ability to execute your business plan well, to make good decisions, all those things.
Right.
I guess it's sort of hard to ask someone who's running a project who thinks they're going to be finished in 5 months to sort of swallow the pill that now it's probably going to go over. Every ERP implementation does. I don't know, maybe some of them happen on time, but I haven't seen it. But I still think it's worth hedging your bets, right? The reason you're doing a new ERP implementation is probably for process improvement and reporting improvement. Start getting that now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think, that brings another thing to mind about doing this. Like, that's not the only client we've helped with some ERP stuff. But also, having that data outside of the existing ERP also allows you to do stuff like maybe not migrate old historical records into the new one because you've already got them somewhere else. You've already got reporting on it. You don't need to you already have a copy of the data in the back end.
Yeah.
And you've already got reporting on it. So there's really no reason to have to do a big migration.
That's a great point.
And, there's a lot of, I kind of alluded to it in that story about that old client, but, when you do have to migrate some data, like how much of an ERP implementation is data? A lot of it is.
Oh,
right?
yeah. The migration's a big piece of it.
It's a big piece. And so you have to migrate your customers. You have to migrate like employees if you're going that route. Like you have to migrate a lot of existing data, maybe not transactions if you've done this lake house thing, you have some reporting, but you do need some of that other data. And what we were able to do in some of these cases is, let's say customers, for example, we were able to give them a customer list in the format they needed to upload into their new ERP.
Making the migration much easier and more accurate.
And then they were able to just run that query as many times as they wanted to get the new customers that came in their existing ERP and upload them then to their new one during that migration period, which was many months. But, it just made their life a lot easier. It made it more efficient for them to do the migration.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Couple things in there. One, you can actually use that to create your migration data. And two, you can use it to validate migration data. So if the company who's doing your ERP implementation is doing those migrations, sometimes it's difficult to validate. You're doing some reporting out of the old system and trying to match it up. If you actually have your data in a data lake house and have a good semantic layer reporting and so on, you can just have validation reports and know immediately, is the migration working well?
Right.
I think there's another point which actually made me think of, which is when companies migrate to a new ERP and they migrate the data, they almost never are bringing all of the data across. They're bringing over the data that fits the new model. They're leaving out data that's just going to take extra time because it's very expensive and they're probably behind schedule already. And you can dump that into a data lakehouse, keep that data forever for pennies, dollars a month, a very small amount. And you've got that historical record. And if you ever do need it, you've got it.
Right. Exactly. That's a huge benefit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the point that we're trying to make, or that I'm trying to, is if you're thinking about doing a data project and then you're delaying because you are doing some kind of a platform migration, usually an ERP migration, and you don't want to waste money on doing a data project while you're just going to be getting a new ERP system and have to do it again, it's not really that. It actually can accelerate your ERP migration. It can give you value in the meantime, and you're not going to have to redo it. Yes, you are going to have to bring the data in from the new ERP system, but these days that's almost trivial. It's not a big 6-month Kimball model, traditional data warehouse project. You can build those pipelines and get the data into your lakehouse quickly, and then get it into your modeling quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, we like to talk about ROI a lot. I think that this is one that's pretty clear, right? If you build more than just the reporting, right? Obviously, you get good reporting out of your existing ERP during that period where you're implementing a new one, but you also get to make your ERP implementation a little bit easier, right? Like you might not want to spend the money to build the reports in like a data platform right now, because you think maybe you're going to have to do it again after the other one. And to your point, I won't go into it again, but you don't necessarily have to do that. And then, but in reality, you might save money by putting it in now, because you get to save money on resource costs and ERP implementation costs because you've got data so available and you're able to make things a lot more efficient.
Yeah, and we see that all the time. We have a brand new client we're doing that with right now. We're getting that effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels very self-serving, this message, because we're the guys that do the data work. But I firmly believe it's right. And I wish that business leaders who are in charge of the data initiatives understood this, because I think they're hurting themselves.
Yeah. Well, it's a logical way to think, right? Like I could see how you would have that thought process around like, well, we're just going to load the data again, and well, that's true. There's a lot of not so obvious stuff that you're leaving out, and hopefully we've explained some of those things today.
Yeah, and I think this applies also. This is just a migration, but also when you're doing the buy and build strategy. Let's say you're PE owned, got a platform company, you're buying add-on companies. Often we'll see companies go without reporting for those add-ons because they're going to migrate the add-on to their platform ERP system, and I've seen companies go 3 or 4 years and not actually get that migration done, and then sell the company.
Never do it.
And they never had reporting the whole time.
Right.
They were getting QuickBooks reports, or Excel sheets, that type of thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a really good point.
All right. Well, that's what I wanted to cover. You got anything else?
That's it for me.
All right. Thanks.
All right.